Today I'm going to be talking about the new public switch package. This is super important because it's basically taking over for Magic Move. The creator of Switch T-Show is building upon Magic Move's capabilities and adding a bunch more stuff, so it's a really great way to explore different animations and transitions, basically switching states without having to use code. So if we look in the public packages panel, this is the switch package. I have it installed already, but you can just read a little bit about it here. It's a utility component that lets you switch between different states of an element. So this is really important when making high-fidelity prototypes because you often want to show these micro interactions and different behaviors and mock them up quickly without having to use code. So in this package, there's actually two components. There's switch and switch to state action. So you use this switch component when you have items that can manage their own state. So you would use this for something that's changing its own state when it's tapped or hovered. So for example, a button with different states like a hover state and a click state, or an on and off toggle or a checkbox, like something that you're actually interacting with that component. But in some cases, you might need to change an element state based on interacting with another element. So for example, tabbed navigation is a really common interaction. So in order to do this, we'll need the switch to state action component, and that will basically add as a hotspot to control the actual switching of state. So we can look at a few examples that T-Show included in the package description. If we preview these, you can see a few different examples of animation. So for example, this is using kind of an auto animate transition. And you can see on the canvas here, it's just all you need to have defined are these three states that it's auto animating in between. We'll go through a few more examples. This one's an animation. Some icon morphing. And this would be more of a real use case in an app, having kind of a detail view page blow up and then having it go back. So now I'm going to actually try to make something using this component. I'm going to make a button with 3 different states. So let's say this is our normal button. Then we'll have a hover state and a click state. Alright, so let's say this is a button that I want to appear, but whenever you interact with it, there will be a hover and click state. So in order to make this happen, this would be an example of when you just have to use the switch component. So you can drag this out and connect it to all 3 states. Now you can see in the bottom here, the 3 states have been detected. And the first thing we're going to do in the properties panel and put interactive to yes. So now you'll see we have a bunch of different events and gestures that we can set that will determine when the state's changed. So in this case, the first one I'm going to set is the hover state, and I'm going to say specific state index. So you can see up here, initial state is 0, so that's just the first frame. So then the second state is going to be 1. So I can set that here. Next, I'm going to set on tap. Also specific state index, and this is going to be my second state. So now if we preview this, it hovers and I can click. Of course, instead of using specific state index, I can also achieve this other ways by using the specific state name, which would just be the name of the frame if I gave them each different names. I can also set transitions down here, so you can see there's a bunch of different transitions that can occur between the actual changing of the state. So that's just using the switch component, but now I'm going to do a tab navigation where you actually have to use the switch component and the switch to state action. So in this frame, I'm going to drag out the switch component. This will just basically hold the different states. And then these are going to be the different content that's actually changing when we click on our tabs. And now once again, I'm just going to connect the switch to the 3 states. Next, we'll need to create some tabs. So these might be icons or buttons. And now how the switch to state action works is it's basically a hotspot, so we just need to drag it and put it on each 3 of these tab buttons. And just to show you, if I actually preview this, you're not going to see the switch to state action component. You'll only see it on the canvas, so you can actually know where your hotspots are. So now if I select the switch to state action, I can go over here and say on tap. I'm going to do specific state index again. So the first one will be set to 0, which is the page number 1. This one will be set to 1. I know it's a bit confusing because it's not actually aligned with the numbers, but the first state is state 0. And then the last one will be state 2. All right, if we preview this, I now should be able to switch between the states. So this is just a basic overview of how to use the switch package. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do with it, and I highly recommend you to install it and give it a try on your own.